You're sitting somewhere right now, reading this. And while you're here, part of you is already somewhere else. Planning dinner, replaying that conversation, wondering what's next. You're physically here, but you're not really present. And you've tried to fix this. Meditation apps, mindfulness exercises, breathing techniques. Be here now. But even when you manage to be present for a moment, it slips away. Like trying to hold water in your hands. The harder you try, the faster it drains. Here's what nobody tells you. There's a reason you can't stay present. And it's not because you're doing it wrong. It's not because you need more practice. It's because your mind is designed to pull you away from the present moment. Literally designed for it. Think about it. When are you naturally present? When something demands your complete attention? A near accident? A kiss? A moment of beauty so striking it stops your thoughts? Pain, pleasure, danger. These things snap you into now because they have to. They override the default setting. But the default setting? The default is anywhere but here. Past or future. Memory or projection. Replay or rehearsal. Your mind is a time machine, and it's constantly running. That's not a bug. That's the feature. Your mind evolved to keep you alive. And to keep you alive, it needs to learn from the past and prepare for the future. Did that berry kill you? Don't eat it again. Is that shadow moving? Get ready to run. The mind that could predict and remember survived. The mind that just existed in the moment became lunch. So presence, actual presence, goes against millions of years of conditioning. Your mind is literally wired to not be here. It's wired to scan, to assess, to plan, to worry, to remember, to project. Being fully in this moment, with no thought of what was or what might be, feels dangerous to the mechanism that's kept humans alive. That's why presence feels rare. Because it is rare. Not because it's hard to achieve, but because everything in you is pulling against it. You're swimming upstream, against your own biology. And here's where it gets interesting. Most people think the goal is to train the mind to stay present, to discipline it, to force it to stop wandering. But that's like trying to train a bird not to fly. You're fighting its nature. And when you fight nature, nature always wins. What if the real reason you can't stay present is because you're trying to? What if the effort itself is the problem? Think about the last time you were genuinely present. Not trying to be present. Actually present. You weren't working at it. You weren't monitoring yourself to make sure you were staying in the moment. You just were. Something captured you completely. And there was no gap between you and the experience. No observer watching the observation, just the thing itself. That's what real presence feels like. Effortless, natural, not achieved. But when you try to recreate that, when you try to be present, you create the very split. The presence dissolves. There's you, trying to be present. And that trying creates distance, creates time, creates a separation between the experiencer and the experience. So you sit down to meditate, you close your eyes, you focus on your breath, and immediately your mind starts wandering. Thoughts come. You notice you're thinking. You bring your attention back. More thoughts. You bring it back again. And you judge yourself. I'm bad at this. Everyone else can do this. Why is my mind so busy? But here's what's actually happening. You're noticing that your mind wanders. And the noticing, that is presence. The awareness that sees the thoughts is present. It's just that you've identified with the thoughts instead of with the awareness, watching them. You think you are the thinking, but you're not. You're the space in which thinking happens. And that space, it's always present, always here, always now. It never leaves. It can't leave. It's not in time. The thoughts come and go. The feelings come and go. The sensations come and go. But the awareness of all of it, that's constant. That's the unchanging background to everything that changes. And that awareness is already present. It's not something you have to achieve or maintain. It's what you are. But we spend our whole lives identified with the content of awareness instead of awareness itself. We think we are the movie instead of the screen. And the movie is constantly moving. Past scenes, future scenes, never the actual moment when the projector is running. This is why all the techniques feel like they're not quite working. Because they're trying to fix something that isn't actually broken. They're trying to make you present when presence is already here. What's not here is your recognition of it. You're looking for presence in the future. When I get better at meditating, then I'll be present. But presence isn't in the future. It's in the only time that exists. Right now. And right now. And right now. It's not something that happens later. It's what's happening when you stop looking for it to happen, by the way. Our shared space of light and awareness is on its way to 100,000 people. Thank you to everyone who subscribes and brings this moment closer. So the real reason you can't stay present isn't because you're not trying hard enough. It's because you're trying at all. Presence isn't a state you achieve. It's what remains when you stop trying to be somewhere else. When you stop trying to be someone else. When you stop trying altogether. But that's not satisfying, is it? Because the mind wants a method. It wants steps. It wants to know how to do this. And that wanting, that needing to know how, is the movement away from presence. It's the movement into time, into future, into when I figure this out. The mind can't be present because the mind is made of time. It's made of past and future, memory and imagination. It exists in relation to what was and what might be. Asking the mind to be present is like asking darkness to produce light. It's not what it does. So if the mind can't be present, what can? The awareness behind the mind. The witnessing that sees the mind operating. That's what's present. And it's present whether the mind is quiet or noisy, whether thoughts are there or not, whether you feel peaceful or anxious. The awareness doesn't change based on content. Here's an analogy. Imagine you're watching a movie. Sometimes it's a drama, sometimes a comedy, sometimes a horror film. The movie changes, but the screen stays the same. It doesn't become sad during sad scenes or scared during scary ones. It just displays whatever appears on it. Your awareness is like that screen. Thoughts appear on it. Emotions appear on it. Sensations, memories, plans. All of it appears on the screen of awareness. But the screen itself never moves. Never changes. It's always right here, right now, displaying whatever is arising. The problem is you're so absorbed in the movie that you've forgotten about the screen. You think you are the character in the movie. You think you are the story unfolding. And stories are made of time. They have beginnings, middles, ends. They have pasts and futures. They're never just now. Your personal story is the same. Who you think you are is a collection of memories and projections. What happened to you? What you hope will happen? What you're afraid will happen? Take away the past and future. And who are you? In this exact moment, with no reference to anything that came before or might come after. What are you? Not what you think, not what you feel, not what you're planning or remembering. Just this awareness, this presence, this being here before the mind labels it and turns it into something. Most people have never experienced themselves without their story. They've never been present without the narrative of who they are. And that narrative is always in time. I am someone who had this childhood. I am someone who wants this future. I am someone who struggles with this. I am someone who's good at that. All of it exists in relation to time. But what if none of that is actually who you are? What if that's just the movie playing on the screen? What if you're the screen, not the movie? This isn't philosophy. This is something you can directly experience. Right now, what is here before you think about? What's here before you name it? Before you judge it? Before you relate it to your past or your future? Just this. Just presence itself. The mind immediately jumps in. Okay, but I need to function. I need to plan. I need to remember. I can't just be present all the time. And that's true. The mind is useful. Planning is useful. Memory is useful. But there's a difference between using the mind and being used by it. Between thinking when you need to think and compulsive thinking that never stops. Most people don't use their minds. Their minds use them. The thoughts just run. All day, all night. Commenting, judging, planning, worrying, replaying. And they believe every thought. They think the thoughts are reality. They think the story is what's actually happening. But watch closely. The thought, I'm anxious about tomorrow, appears in your awareness right now. The thought itself is happening now. The anxiety it refers to, it's about tomorrow, but the thought about it is present. The experience of that thought is present. Even when the mind is in the future, the experiencing of that mind is now. See what that means? You literally cannot leave the present moment. Even when you think you're thinking about the past or future, that thinking is happening now. The only thing that seems to leave the present is your attention. Your attention gets absorbed in the content of the thought, instead of noticing the presence in which the thought appears. It's like watching a movie and getting so absorbed that you forget you're in a theatre. You start reacting as if the movie is real. You feel scared, sad, excited, as if the images on the screen are actually happening to you. But they're not. They're appearing in front of you, and you're safe in your seat, watching. The same thing happens with thoughts. You get so absorbed in the content that you forget you're the awareness, watching the thoughts. You start reacting as if the thoughts are reality, as if the story in your head is what's actually happening. But it's not. It's appearing in your awareness, and you are the awareness, not the content. When you recognize this, something shifts. The thoughts keep coming, but they don't pull you around anymore. They're just thoughts, arising and dissolving in the space of awareness, like clouds passing through the sky. The sky doesn't chase the clouds, doesn't try to hold on to them or push them away. Just lets them be. That's what presence actually is, not an empty mind, not a quiet mind, but the recognition that you are not the mind. You are what witnesses the mind. And the witness is always present, always here, always now. This is why trying to quiet the mind doesn't work. Because who is trying to quiet it? Another thought. The thought, I should be quiet, trying to silence other thoughts. It's the mind trying to fix the mind, which just creates more noise. But when you shift identification from the thoughts to the awareness of thoughts, there's nothing to fix. Thoughts can be there or not be there. Doesn't matter, because you're not them. You're the space in which they appear and disappear. And here's what's wild. That space has no time in it. Awareness doesn't age, it doesn't grow, it doesn't change. It's the same now as it was when you were 5 years old. The content changed, the thoughts changed, the feelings changed, the body changed. But the awareness that knows all of this, exactly the same. That's what you actually are, not the changing content. The unchanging awareness. And that awareness is presence itself. Not presence in a moment. Presence is the ground in which all moments appear. So the real reason you can't stay present is because you're looking for it in the wrong place. You're looking for a state, a feeling, a particular quality of mind. But presence isn't a state. States come and go. Presence is what's here when all states come and go. You can be present in anxiety, present in joy, present in boredom, present in excitement. Presence doesn't care about the content. It's just the awareness of what is. And that awareness is already here. You don't have to find it. You have to stop overlooking it. So how do you stop overlooking it? You don't? Not really. Because even the idea of stopping overlooking makes it sound like something you do. Like a practice, a technique. And presence isn't something you do. It's what you are when you stop doing. But let's be practical. Because you still have to live. You still have to function. You still have to exist in a world that demands planning and remembering and thinking. So how do you live from presence instead of from the time-travelling mind? The shift happens when you start noticing what's here before the story starts, before the interpretation, before the label, just the raw isness of this moment. You're reading this. Before you think about it, before you judge it, before you relate it to anything else, there's just this, the seeing, the awareness, the being here. That's presence. And it's already happening. You're just not noticing it because you're focused on the content, not the container. Try this. Look around wherever you are. Don't name anything. Don't categorize. Don't judge. Just see. Colours, shapes, light, movement. Before your mind tells you what any of it is, it's just this. Just happening. Just present. That's what's always here. Reality before the mind interprets it. And you have access to that anytime. Not by achieving some special state, but by noticing what's already present before the thinking starts. Most of life is lived in the interpretation, not in the direct experience. You see a person, and immediately your mind tells you a story about them. Friend, stranger, attractive, annoying, whatever. But before the story, there was just the seeing, just the presence, meeting presence. The same happens with everything. Food, sounds, sensations. The mind immediately categorizes and judges and relates everything to your past and future. And you live in that mental layer instead of in direct contact with what is. But what if you drop below the mental layer? What if you experience things before the mind processes them? That's where presence lives. In direct contact. In the gap before the mind labels and judges and turns everything into part of your story. This doesn't mean you stop thinking. It means thinking becomes a tool you use when needed instead of a compulsion that runs constantly. You can still plan when you need to plan. Remember when you need to remember. But the rest of the time, you're just here, just present, just being. And here's what happens when you start living like this. Life gets simpler. Not easier necessarily, but simpler. Because you're not carrying the weight of the entire past and the entire imagined future everywhere you go. You're just responding to what's actually here. Most of what we call stress isn't about what's actually happening. It's about what we think about what's happening. It's about what we remember, or what we fear might happen next. The actual moment. Usually manageable, usually okay, sometimes even beautiful. But we miss it. We miss the actual experience because we're busy thinking about the experience, commenting on it, judging it, comparing it to other experiences, wondering if we're doing it right, worrying about how long it will last or what comes next. Presence is the end of all that. Not because the thoughts stop, but because you stop being owned by them. They arise, you notice them, and they dissolve, like weather passing through. You don't become the weather. You watch it happen in the space you are. And that space, infinite, unchanging, always at peace. Not because nothing is happening in it, but because nothing that happens in it touches it. Thoughts can be turbulent. Emotions can be intense, life can be chaotic, but the awareness that holds all of it, completely still. This is what every spiritual tradition points to, not as a belief, not as a concept, but as a direct recognition. The recognition that you are not the person in time. You are the timeless presence in which the person appears. And when you recognize this, when you really see it, not just understand it intellectually, but actually experience it directly, something fundamental shifts. The seeking stops, because you realize you are looking for something you already are. You're trying to arrive somewhere you've never left. Presence isn't over there. It's not in the next meditation, the next retreat, the next teacher, the next technique. It's here. It's what's reading these words right now. The awareness that sees the thoughts. The space that holds everything. And the beautiful thing, you don't have to maintain it. You don't have to protect it. You don't have to worry about losing it. Because it's not a state, it's what you are. States come and go. Presence remains. The mind will still wander. Thoughts will still arise. You'll still get caught in stories and forget you're not the story. That's okay. That's part of being human. But each time you notice, each time you recognise, oh, I'm lost in thought again, that noticing is presence. That recognition is the awareness returning to itself. And gradually, or maybe suddenly, it becomes clear. The present moment isn't something you visit occasionally, when you remember to be mindful. The present moment is the only place you've ever been. The only place you can ever be. Even when you think you're thinking about the past or future, you're doing that thinking now. Here, in presence. The real reason you can't stay present is because you're trying to get to something that's already here. You're trying to find yourself. But how can you find what you already are? How can you reach what you've never left? You can't. So you stop trying. And in that stopping, in that giving up the search, presence reveals itself as what was here all along. Not as an achievement, not as a state, but as the simple, obvious, always here recognition. This, just this. This is it. This is what you've been looking for. And it's what's looking. If this video changed something in you, write in the comments, I am already here. Write it as your recognition of what's always been true. Nobody